Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion plays The Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus. You know, we one win. I feel like I have to point out, dude, stats are good. L14 and VB7C. We're also one away from the Beelzebub transformation here, and blank card is actually, let me out, an amazing item to be starting with. Legitimately. Yeah. Oh, excuse me. How did largely useless Wallfly not accomplish anything of merit there? Anyway, you know, it's always important to take a hard, sober look at your play. If you're interested in improving, you know, there's, what's the expression? I've been reading a lot of Marcus Aurelius' landmark Stoic work of philosophy, Meditations. And the spirit of that work is very empowering. It's like that quote that you see on a lot of, like, wine glasses they would sell at a mid-range department store. You know, Lord grant me the strength to change the things I can change, and the power to let go of the things I can, and the wisdom to tell the difference between the two. And also, it's not called wine, it's called mommy juice. I know I did this bit back in December, but I actually, and this is, I'm getting down a different road here from what I was originally going to say. But what I was going to say is, I don't think I've been playing that well at Isaac lately. What would be wise for me to do is, you know, take a long, hard look in the mirror, and, you know, whenever we run into, I wouldn't really call it a slump at this point, but whenever we run into trouble in Isaac, you know, take a step back, get back to the fundamentals. You know, you're capable of at least building a double-digit Eden streak. Yo, this is interesting. Watch this. Anyway, what I was gonna say is, you know, and I always like to read articles that vindicate me and make me feel like I'm smarter than I actually am. So I read this article. Well, let me start. I know I'm ping-ponging back and forth between different tangents here, but, you know, back in December, I was, you know, we were in Nordstrom's in downtown Vancouver, and literally there were dozens of products that were exactly like what I described. You know, it's not Chardonnay, it's mommy juice. Don't talk to me until I've had my Pinot Grigio. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. You know, blah, blah, blah. And I made some tweets and some comments like, you know, are middle-aged women okay? Because all this stuff, you know, it's clearly targeted at a particular demographic. And I wouldn't say I was concerned, but I was more like, you know, I don't know if we should necessarily be glorifying this sort of culture. And then I read an article, it was like an epidemiological study of, like, alcohol-related death and disease. And apparently it's, I don't want to say super on the rise, because I don't want to alarm people, but it's on the rise compared to the generation that just passed. And beyond that, it's particularly on the rise in women between the ages of, like, 30 and 55. It's a very, is an interesting article to read. You know, I'm not judging anybody or begrudging anybody for their life's choices. I was just, you know, I mean, it's, I guess, interesting to see stuff like that in a department store that's, you know, don't talk to me until I've had my Chardonnay, and then, you know, you're like, oh, that's kind of cute. And then you read this article that are like, you know, more and more women, you know, between basically my age and my mom's age are dying of alcoholic liver disease, essentially. And you're like, oh, that's, you know, maybe it's not so cute. I don't know, I feel like, I mean, male drinking culture has exactly the same thing. You know, where people get, like, it's just, it's overly masculinized, right? Where it's like, you know, they're on ice cubes, they're whiskey rocks. You know, you stop putting ice in your whiskey, start putting cold stones in there. They always do, I mean, every alcohol ad, and don't take this as a, you know, a slant towards prohibition, but it's interesting to see how the type of alcohol that it is, it changes the style of marketing involved. Like a wine cooler or like a pre-mixed drink, there's only two different options. One of them is like young people partying, The other one is like sitting back on a beach in Cancun, cracking open a delicious can of Palm Bay pre-mixed strawberry margarita. And then whiskey is predominantly like a well-dressed man. People are like, how is this man so handsome? And then he snaps his fingers and he's like, it's not the man, it's the Wisers. Oh. The one that gets me is, you know, without being a snob, stuff like Bud Light. Or Coors. Coors is another, probably a better example. Because that's a beer that markets itself based on its coldness. Which makes no sense to me. Isn't that determined by the end user? Putting it in their fridge or their freezer or alternatively a mixing bowl with ice and salt in it and then stirring it as fast as possible to make it as chilled in record time as is conceivable. I think it's a bad sign for the taste of your product if you have to market it as like, you know, the mountains turn blue when it's cold enough to forget what it tastes like. Anyway, I am being a snob. I don't know, that kind of marketing is interesting. Marketing in general is kind of interesting to me. I know it's strange that I'm coming at it from this perspective while also simultaneously, who knows what you got an ad for when you started watching this video, you know? But you know, the other one that I always go to, the two that I look to the most are definitely like alcohol advertisements and laundry detergent. Because laundry detergent is literally like 100% of the time. It's like, Jennifer, your son has grass stains. I'm sorry to tell you, you've been ostracized from the group of well-meaning moms. I'm sorry to inform you that your child coming back from soccer practice and having grass stains on their trousers means you're a kind of a crap mom. Sorry to tell you. Why didn't you buy the Gain with the HE compliant cold water bleach powder inside of it? But there's more. I mean, there's definitely more. Another one is cereal. Cereal is like... It always, of course, also depends on the channel on which you're watching. Like, if you're watching... sometimes I watch YTV, which is like our Nickelodeon. The reason I watch YTV, sometimes they get banger movies on there. You know? Normally I go to the movie channel, HBO, Showtime, etc., etc. But sometimes YTV is like, yo, check it out. We're playing Agent Cody Banks 2. And I'm like, I love trash movies. I gotta see this. You see different ads, you know, it's kids skateboarding and then going like, Apple Jacks! And you're like, dude, I gotta get me some of those. But there's, I feel like as my generation has grown up, now there are cereal ads for sugary cereals targeted at adults. And as far as I'm concerned, most cereals are kind of created equal. I would go for some Frosted Flakes. You put a bowl of Frosted Flakes in front of me right now, I'd eat them. I'm not trying to be a snob about it, but... You know, now the ads are... But I feel like, let me put it this way. When I was a kid, I felt like the cereal ads, there were two kinds. Hey kid, if you eat the cereal, you're gonna be cool, do rollerblading tricks. And then the other alternative was, hey moms and dads that might be watching this, you know, with your kids, there's a lot of vitamin B12 in this cereal, plus the kids like it because it's got marshmallows shaped like smiley faces. Nowadays, some of the ads are... Dude, all these spacebar items, but I can't get rid of blank card. They're like I think of the Frosted Flakes ad. It literally says nothing about the cereal whatsoever. But there's like 5 dudes watching sports. And then one of them is like, you know, every time I look away, something good happens. And then Tony the Tiger goes, don't sweat it, Kevin. You're doing a great thing for your team by sacrificing your own entertainment. Here, take this. And he gives him a bowl of Frosted Flakes. He takes a spoonful and looks away, and then his team scores. What does that have to do with the cereal at all? I don't understand. I also like, you know, while we were out this weekend, I drove a lot. So I heard a lot of ads on the radio. And I really feel like radio ads are like a vestige of an earlier time. Like, the prototypical radio ad, in case you haven't listened to the radio in a long time, there's a few different types. Subtype A is, they get your attention by playing police sirens or the sound of honking or cars crashing. I know I'm preaching to the converted here, and in some places it's even illegal. But when you're driving, you know what you don't want to hear in a radio ad? Either wee wee or like eep, you know, something like that. Hey, what are you doing? Honk, honk, honk. You know, please stop that. That does not make me want to buy rosemary rock salt bagels. The other one is a canned knock-knock joke that has nothing to do with the business whatsoever, that they read in Reader's Digest in like 1975. Hey Susan, knock knock. Hey Daryl. Who's there? Orange. Orange who? Orange, you glad I didn't say bananas, which are half price at Save On Foods this week? Hey, Save On Foods, buy our stuff. You know, it's... I don't know, man. Ads are weird. The medium is different, too. Ads on the internet are like... you get a different timbre, right? Like, I feel like, ads on the radio are just like a vestige of an earlier time, where, you know, if you watch like a 1950s game show, a dude will be like, hey, you got depression and anxiety? Take a Tylenol, it'll clear you up. Good for tension. And you're like, what does that even mean? The guy's like, come on, dude, it's the 50s. You can say whatever you want. It gets the people going. Just sell some niacin here. Ads on the internet are like big flashing lights that are like, click me for $1 million, and then ads on TV are like the subtle ones, the more subtle ones at least, most of the time. Okay, please God, I beg you. This is good stuff, without a doubt. Holy Mantle, incredible item. I'm actually just, at this point, go ahead and hit me, because we're just going to do like a little something like that. We have a great setup here, and I'm going to use this orbital to do a lot of damage, but we could use more raw stats for sure. Trying to think, like, every ad has its own flavor, you know. Car ads are, they're always, I feel like the car ad always appeals to a certain sense of freedom. And again, millions and millions of dollars have, collectively, probably billions of dollars have gone into marketing cars. So I'm not going to say that I know better. Because, I mean, in my head, I'm like, I know better. But I would never publicly say that because it's unbecoming of me. But you remember that Mazda ad it was airing a couple of years ago? And it was basically like, you know, get a car, buy a car, first date, awkward love, you know, and then get a family, go to college, give up on your dreams, you know, and then you buy a Mazda. Why? Because it reminds you of when you were you. What is... we're tying it back to the earlier thing here. Are people in their 40s okay? I'm worried because well, I mean, technically because time only moves forward. You know, I'm closer to that than I am to any other decade of age, you know? And I'm worried that it's the shape of punk to come, you know? Is I'm gonna be like, dude, I gotta get a Mazda. It reminds me of when I was in high school and listen to Joe Rogan. That's when I was in high school, Joe Rogan was the host of Fear Factor, okay? That was I made an anachronistic joke there in order to get a rise out of you, and I apologize, but it's what I do. Okay, the miter, also great. Does it work with blank card lovers to facilitate the rise of more spirit hearts? I do not know. Anyway. That's my thoughts on advertising. All I'm gonna say, if you know, maybe you're part of the demographic. It's not wine, it's mommy juice, etc., etc. That's okay, but we're here for you. And I know that sounds patronizing. We're here for you. You know, there's people around you that love you and respect you and support you. You don't have to go. Maybe, and again, if you. I'm not trying to make this a gendered thing. There's probably dudes out there who are like, you know, it's not cognac, it's daddy juice. Don't do that either. It's just kind of, I don't know, man. It's just if I went over to somebody's house and they had, like, matching wine glasses that said, don't talk to me until I've had my, Prosecco, I would be like, I'd wait for a moment in which there was some decorum. I wouldn't just pop it out of nowhere, but I'd be like, you okay? I think when you start to buy glassware or t-shirts or anything that says, like, I drink a lot and people ask me about it, that's when the time has come, perhaps, to reevaluate your relationship with it. especially in light of that study. But then it go, oh, NL, there's studies that go, you know, a glass of wine a day is good for your heart. Okay, that's sure. But like, don't buy the silverware that says, don't talk to me until I have my mommy juice. That's all I'm saying. I walked right into it, dude. Oh, let's go. Never mind. I'm very dumb. So what I thought is, it's balls of steel. I'll use that with blank card. And that is not the way that she goes. You know, that was a pill. I have blank card, not blank pill. Also known as placebo. It's a weird run. It is, it's weak. It's like that Alanis Morissette. It's weak, but it's hearty. It's slow, but it's pretty quick. It's X, but it's minus X, baby. Dude, Alanis Morissette got a lot of mileage. And if you've watched this show for any length of time, I'm not a big Alanis Morissette fan, but I'm a big Jagged Little Pill fan. I'll level with you. I think there's a couple of different things happening there. One is that album popped off in like 1995, so I was like 6, 7 years old. It's when a lot of my first memories, you know, or a lot of my early memories, I guess I should say, are from that period. My parents were, you know, putting Jagged Little Pill on at all times. Please don't take them to jail. Yes, she does say the F word in one of the songs, okay? Look, I've transitioned to a family-friendly channel, at least in terms of the limited amount of swears that I've done. Clearly, it didn't have that much of an effect on me. But where it did have an effect on me is if I hear any song except Ironic from Jagged Little Pill, I'm sitting in the car, even if I'm in the parking lot, until it's over. There's so many good ones. You Ought to Know absolutely slaps. I'll tell you. You can make fun of you, whatever. I listen to Mission of Burma. I listen to friggin' Boris and Atlas and whatever, you know? I listen to weird stuff. But I also, You Ought to Know by Alanis Morissette is a real rock song. It is. There's passion behind it. There's emotion behind it. Yo, Beelzebub? Not Beelzebub. I thought we were one away, but I guess that's just totally wrong. And baseless. But then, like, Ironic I don't really like, because Ironic is part of this Alanis Morissette genre that's just like a song about, like, opposites, you know. Like, I think she should change the name of Ironic. Do, like, an Ironic 2.0, and just call it Isn't It Weird? An old man turned 98. He won the lottery. Died the next day. Isn't that weird? Don't you think? That would be a much more honest song title, I think. But everything else on that album goes hard, dude. What I Really Want, that's a good one. One Hand in My Pocket, that's a classic. Again, You Ought to Know. I mean, I could probably, if I saw the track list, which you know I'm gonna Google right after we finish this room. Oh man, okay, what's it called? Jagged Little Pill. It's the 3rd studio album from Alanis Morissette. Critical reception. Let's see. Los Angeles Times gave it a 4.5. What did Robert Christgau give it? I don't know. NME gave it a. Chicago Tribune 2 out of 4. Jeez Louise. All I Really Want. Okay, so I called it What I Really Want. You Ought to Know. Perfect. Don't remember it all. Hand in My Pocket. Yeah. Oh, you learn. You live. You learn. Head Over Feet. Don't be surprised if I hear. Dude, I gotta listen to this. I mean, I can't do it now because, like, you know, this is the start of my workday. But now all I want to do is listen to freaking Jagged Little Pill. The 90s are back, baby. It's my time to shine. Don't hit me! I'm using my orbital to deal damage. Whatever, dude. I don't want this item. All I'm saying, if you haven't listened to Jagged Little Pill, go back and give it a shot, alright? I'm not saying it's Exile in Guyville, but it's, I feel like Alanis has been, I don't want to say she's become a punchline, because I don't think that's doing her service. But I think that she's been kind of, oh, she's back in the 90s with the MC Hammers and the Vanilla Ices of the world. Yo, there's a reason you don't see Alanis Morissette doing the reality TV show circuit or taking up a second profession. You know why that is? She's an artist, a genuine artist. And as far as I'm concerned, Canadian rock and roll music stations are cowards, you know? For anybody who's not aware, Canadian television stations and I don't know how it works for like television affiliates and stuff like that, but anyway, Canadian broadcasters have to by law, and this is not a joke, your safety is not guaranteed. Placebo is kind of interesting, isn't it? But they have to play like 25% Canadian content. 25% of their content has to be Canadian. And again, I always bring this up. I bring it up absolutely every single time. The reason for that is because we live next to, like, the greatest culture-producing country in Earth's history from a civilization perspective. I don't mean, like, American culture is the best culture. You know, I would never commit career suicide by saying that. All I'm saying is they got the biggest movie industry, the biggest TV industry. They got the biggest music industry. They got, like, 10 music industries. You got... You know, Nashville, the center of hip-hop, Motown ages ago, you know, Stax. It never ends. Their food is consumed all over the world. Their politics is treated as a sport all over the world. And their sports are popular everywhere. So, you know, we gotta do... I look at it like a Civilization 6, like a policy. You know, we gotta enact a policy to make, you know, culture spread 100% less effective on tiles that have Canadian radio stations or something. But anyway, so what that means is that if you are in Canada for any length of time and you turn on your radio, you're gonna hear this. I got my first real 6-string gun, I'm good at the 5 and dime. Wow. And I truly believe that there are two reasons that Bryan Adams' Summer of '69 gets played aggressively on the radio over here. One of them is CanCon. The idea that, well, if we got to play a Canadian song in the next 15 minutes, it might as well be Summer of '69. And the other one is that, you know, if you look at the demographics of Canada, we got a, you know, rising population of people between the ages of, you know, 40 and 70. But they're cowards for not playing more 1995 era Alanis Morissette. Don't play Ironic. Play Head Over Heels. Or Head Over Feet, sorry. Head Over Heels is another good song. Something happens when I'm head over heels. I never find out till I'm head over heels. The song's from The Big Chair by Tears for Fears. Look it up, sweetheart. Should stop singing. This content ID match is ramping up. Anyway, what was I saying? I forget. It don't matter at the end of the day. But show Alanis some respect, okay? Celine Dion, you know, I could take it or leave it. I know she has, My Heart Will Go On, and she's got other stuff, obviously. Like, what's that other big Celine Dion song? Oh, I knew it because it's from the same karaoke session that brought us coast to coast LA to Chicago. Western Mail. Down the coast en route to Key Largo, baby. Love for sale, cha-cha, because he's a smooth operator. But, oh, now I gotta, I mean, this is a big Google episode here. We got Brimstone Holy Mantle. That leaves us in a pretty acceptable position. The moving forward, I would suggest. Excuse me, sir. Okay. Yo! It's not like Just the Way You Are, but it's something like, it's all coming back to me now. What an ironic name for a song title that I forgot. Anyway. You know, Celine Dion, I could take her or leave her. Bryan Adams, prefer to leave him. No offense meant to the man. Just don't like his music. I have no idea, you know, in his personal life, he might be a perfectly affable gentleman or a saint, but, you know, there's no disrespect. I just don't like his songs. Play more Alanis, you cowards. Anyway. What was I talking about? I don't have many other anecdotes to go on today. I got a gym anecdote. Here's a new one. I failed a squat for the first time in my life. For anybody who's not familiar with what that means, that doesn't mean you did the exercise incorrectly. What it means is that you tried to lift a weight and you just can't lift it. You gotta basically abort the maneuver. And the reason you got to abort it is because in the case of a squat, you know, you pick up the bar with your back and your shoulders, and then you squat. You know, you get low. The movement is in picking the bar, picking yourself up from the ground using, you know, essentially every muscle in your body, but mostly your lower body. So I got down, and I just could not get back up. So what do you do in that case? So I was lucky enough to. You know, our gym is equipped with the kind of equipment where you can fail a squat. It's got this, what's called a power rack, pardon me, that has, you know, safety bars on it. So essentially all you got to do is roll out from under the bar and it gets deposited on the safety bars. But it made a loud noise, and it's also, it is frightening, you know, to just get down there and you're like, okay, legs, 3, 2, 1. And then you push and your legs are like, it's just too much weight, man. You can't do that. There's a scary moment, you know, there's 5 or 6, well, not scary, really. It's an apprehensive moment where there's like 5 or 6, well, not 5 or 6 seconds. It felt like an hour, but it was probably like less than 2 seconds. I was like, can't go up? All right, basically, I'm just going to bail and let it land on these bars. Made a real loud noise. People looked around. I understand. I'd be mad, too. It was loud. It wasn't my intention, but I feel like, you know, there's worse, I mean, I'm not too sore about it. I don't think I injured myself, for one, and beyond that, the thing is, what do you mean you don't know if you injured yourself? Well, you know, it's part of what, you know, being in your 30s is all about, is you're like, I feel good, and then the next day, you're like, nope, never mind, I broke my spine. It just took a day for the body to recognize that my spine has actually collapsed. Interesting. No, I want to see if we get a deal with the devil here. But yeah, there's definitely, and the other thing is, you know, people were very reassuring on Twitter. They were like, hey, that's how you know you're trying to get better, you know? If you always have an easy time lifting the weight, sure, it's probably safer, but, you know, you're not pushing yourself as hard. Which is fair. I learned a lot from the experience of failing the squat. There's probably worse exercises. Like, did you know, like, dozens of people die annually from failing a rep on the bench press? It's pretty scary, you know? You pick it up, you go, and then, you know, if you can't actually complete the rep, you just end up with the, you know, potentially like 400 or 500 pounds, depending on, you know, what you're going for, just compressing directly down on your chest. Nasty way to go, dude. That's about it. I was also thankful that the gym was relatively uncrowded. That's my new, here's what it took for me to complete my evolution into a fully fixed sleep cycle, okay? And again, you know, it's something I rag on other YouTubers for constantly. Might as well see what we got here. You know, Mathis is giving me guff on Twitter. You know, hey, Drac, ideas for shirts are all well and good, but as soon as NL has to click anything, that's too much work for him. I had to hit him with the honest-to-goodness truth, which is that, you know, when we were recording Apex Legends, my dude was 45 minutes late for a recording session that started at 1 p.m. local time because he overslept. You know? You comment the Banter King on Twitter, and I love Mathis. I love working with Mathis. Apart from this one thing, he's a reliable individual, and credit to him, he showed up under-caffeinated and was like, you know, let me get a coffee, then let's do this. You know, he wasn't like, I need 6 hours to get it all figured out, you know. He came ready to slap. But anyway, I'm just saying, not all YouTubers. It's not this easy, but a lot of YouTubers, Twitch streamers are like, my sleep schedule is busted, and then you're like, hey, have you tried not going to bed at 6 a.m.? Like, dude, it's not that easy. But no, I haven't even given that a second thought yet. Anyway, now I'm making a lot of enemies here, but the first time my sleep schedule got fixed was when I got sick this Thanksgiving, and for whatever reason my body was like, hey, it's 11 p.m. Go to bed. You know, then I woke up at like 8 the next day, and I just thought to myself, you know what, it's kind of nice. Let's keep this up. I had a little push, and then, you know, I managed to maintain that. And then the second push has been like going to the gym between like, you know, 10 and 11 a.m. There's a lot of people there. So I'm now like, I gotta wake up earlier because I don't want anybody to be there because it's embarrassing. I don't know, I feel like anybody who would rather not work out alone has something fundamentally wrong with them. Which is a very judgmental sentence to say. But anybody who wants to be seen when they're working out, well, I mean, you know, I don't possess that emotion in my body. I would rather be down there at like, you know, 6 or 7 in the morning when the sun's just coming up. It's like Garth Brooks said, you know, ain't going down till the sun comes up. I don't know what that has to do with the situation, but... Alright, these are all bad. Ish. Never mind, some of them are actually pretty good. This is a good run. I don't know if we deserve... I mean, you never deserve a run this good, right? But again, you know, what would Marcus Aurelius say? Well, what would the Stoics say? The Stoics would say, you know, in times of good fortune... use your good fortune as a resource, as a bulwark, because bad fortune could just be around the corner. It sounds negative, but I don't know. I've never been much of a philosophy guy, and I'm very much like not a self-help sort of dude. But I've been reading the meditations by Marcus Aurelius. I've really been like, this dude, you know, he had a good head on his shoulders. Because it doesn't, I don't know, to me it doesn't feel like philosophy. When I think of philosophy, and this is probably ignorant, but I think of, like, metaphysics, you know, what's our place in the universe, you know, what happens, I don't know, maybe not what happens after you die, but you kind of get the idea. Might as well try that, that's the gauze, okay. But high-minded ideals, you know, and then Marcus Aurelius, you know, meditations, a distillation of Stoic philosophy, which, again, I know basically nothing about, except for what I've read in Meditations. It's essentially just like, you know, a few different axioms where he's like, hey, be a good person, but if you're like a bad person, don't sweat it too much, just try to do better. And I'm like, dude, that's great advice. And he's like, you know, if you feel bad, are the things that you feel bad about within your control? If so, change them. If not, don't sweat it. And I'm like, man, this guy's a genius. Feel like every other book I've ever encountered that borders on self-help is something like the 10 rules to live. Marcus Aurelius' 19 rules for living a stoic and fulfilled life. And really, your meditations is just like, hey, dummy, you know, why are you wasting your time worried about whether or not it's going to rain tomorrow? You got two choices, buy an umbrella or get wet. You know, there's another Stoic. I don't know how much of this is actually verifiable, but there's a Stoic from Rome by the name of Seneca. And, like, he was a very rich man, but one day a month, he would just live in poverty. You know, he would, like, essentially not only starve, but he would go out, you know, wearing tattered robes, and he would go hang out with essentially the beggars, you know, in the streets of Rome. And at the end of the day, he's like, yo, is this what I'm concerned about? Like, these people are large, you know, they're not always living the best life, and, you know, they do have some misery, but they're also like, this is something that I can handle as long as I can get my own frame of mind centered. Anyway, I don't even know where I'm going with this. This is bordering on what I like to call YouTube assumed. I mean, I didn't have a term for it. I'm literally just inventing it right now. But the idea that just because I have people watching this video, I have some assumed credibility when that's not the case. All I'm saying is if you got 5 credits on Audible, consider using one of them on Marcus Aurelius' Meditations. It's been a... I wouldn't call it a comfort, but you know, I found it a realistic lens to interpret the world, if that makes sense. You know, I feel like a lot of advice for dealing with anxiety, which I have in varying degrees. I mean, I'm like the only dude who I know who had like borderline high blood pressure at the age of 25. And might have glaucoma as a result. But, you know, a lot of the other advice for anxiety is like, don't focus on the negative. Don't focus on how terrible something is going to be. Focus on how good you're going to feel after it's over. And then the Stoics are like, spend your time literally visualizing the worst things that could ever happen to you. And then when they do happen, if they happen, you'll have already experienced it in a safe environment, and you'll be like, oh, I'm prepared for this. And I'm like, dude, these guys have got it figured out. That's the ticket. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. Helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. See you!